So when we think about this kind of practical realities of listening to someone and not getting in the way, not fixing, what response might we give when someone's sharing a story that they uniquely know because it's theirs? I can't know their story. Any stories I have about someone else's story are my stories, and we would call that vertical voices, right? That would come from my living experiences of being a human, my past lives, my ancestors, my spirit, family stories, cultural norms, spiritual, whatever I've lived amongst and in. My responses to the other are going to be governed by my stories, right? And we would call that vertical voices, right? And horizontal voices would be what's spoken.
Yep.
Sorry, you go.
I was just going to say, well, maybe I offered a horizontal voice in the wrong spot there by interrupting you. But what we're talking about with vertical voices, right, is everything we think when we're meant to be listening to somebody. So everything we hear in our own voice when we're meant to be listening to somebody else. So whether that is a big thing or something about our fears or our anxieties or what to do next, or flippant things or stupid jokes, it's everything that pulls us away from listening to the other person.
Yeah.
And we can acknowledge that happens. It's a natural, inherent human thing we do, right? So if we acknowledge that happens and we do get drawn away when we're listening, then we can bring ourselves back to listening. We can go, oh, I'm off thinking about the tennis. I'll just come back and remember my intention was to listen here. So I can notice that's happened and come back to listening to Bernie's story, come back to listening to that story.
Yeah. Or things like you're telling a story, Rory, and I'm like, oh, that must be so horrible. Maybe if I just say something nice, he'll feel better. And what we do is I stop you being able to tell your story. I give all sorts of messages. This is from me being kind. I'm a nice person. I want someone to feel nice. I'm a nurse. I'm a therapist. I want Rory to feel a bit better in this moment. But from a kind of justice of you're telling a story that's important. It's in your thoughts. You express it out loud. And if I comment and interrupt from my stories, you don't get to finish that story. It becomes an amalgamation of your story and mine. And that's not offering justice to whatever it is you want to say. So really for me, I just want to hold my humanity, my common humanity with you, my love for you as a person, and say, I wonder what you would hear if you got to share all of what you wanted to share. So it's no longer just in your thoughts, but you hear it in your own words, in reflection of someone that's loving towards you and cares about you as a mutual being. What I have to do in order to do that is hold on to all those stories in my head. Because all those things I name change your story.
And could have different meaning for the person, like you were saying. Like,
Yeah.
it might mean, oh, that was a bit much for them. I better tone that down a bit, what I'm telling, or change, or...
Yeah, because I think that's what we hear in trainings, right? People, I just want them to know that I've heard them.
Yeah.
But actually, if you really come in with the intention and you're really listening and you hold on to your stories so that when you get interruptions of, oh, I want to make Rory feel better, I want Bernie to know this, I want her to know I'm listening. They're all my stories. Oh, yeah, right. So I want them to know I'm listening. Oh, good, I'll return to listening then. I'll return to my intention to listen. And that's a common thing that comes up in the training, right? And yet, when we ran the Just Listening community, no one left saying, I don't think that person listens to me. It just didn't happen.
Yeah. And being listened to, you do know when somebody is listening.
Yeah. It's a real change, though, isn't it? In kind of, and it's funny because it's people's vertical voices that they have to manage, that they don't believe that people know they're being listened to unless there's utterances and there's words being used. Mm. But it also brings us on to when do you respond to someone, right? And I think one of the kind of principles is that if you are going to respond, how do you know that you're responding to their story rather than your own story? And that's about taking awareness to your vertical list as well. And we often said to people, if you're going to say something, why don't you just wait a bit longer? Because what we found in the Just Listening community is when you didn't speak, the person would often go on to come to a solution that was similar to what you were thinking anyway, but it was in their language, in their words, in their experience, rather than it being me being the wise, clever one, which I'm not. Mm.
One example I've had in my mind where we've been talking is when I listen to Bernie talk about a particular family member, it reminds me of a particular family member in my life, and all the stories of my life and that family member in my life start to ping off as I'm listening to Bernie. And I could very easily interrupt Bernie and start telling my own stories rather than just notice those and do the best I can to get back to Bernie's story. And usually what I end with, after I wait a little longer and maybe Bernie's finished saying everything she needs to say and we waited a little bit longer still, then quite often I just end up saying, oh, I love that person in your life, Bernie. And I feel like that's an okay horizontal voice to offer back. That's a good summation of all of my stories that I can recognise are important to me because Bernie's story is so important to her, and that's all she needs to hear. And I have in my mind interrupting you earlier, and I've had about 200 vertical voices about it since. And then you said something really skillful, and I wanted to say, oh, sometimes you're just so skillful, Matt, and I feel a lot of love for you in how you put things. And I've held on to that for a couple of minutes, and it feels okay to say it to you.
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful example. Just let the person get to where they're getting to, and then if you want to, you can then tell them. But let them finish and invite you to know what you know. It reminds me so much, as you were talking, I was thinking of that story of our friend who was suicidal, and I spoke to her on the phone, and I told them I only had 15 minutes. I won't go to the whole story. And I was getting to the end of the 15 minutes, and all I could hear was, oh my goodness, I haven't wrapped this up. And when I said, oh, I'm going to have to go, they said, oh yeah, I'm not suicidal anymore. I'm angry now, and when I'm angry, I'm not suicidal. And it was like, if I'd interrupted by trying to be skillful to change it, maybe they wouldn't have been allowed to be angry. Those big emotions wouldn't have come, and they wouldn't have been able to move through. So I had to wait, not interrupt you, which was really hard. Because I felt very skillful with that stuff.
And sometimes someone's story will peep at a really scary moment, and you'll have something to say in that moment. And if you keep listening, the story will move on, and they'll tell you that they moved through that, and the ending will be something that we had no idea about. And sometimes once the story's finished, it's okay to offer back, oh, I felt really scared about 15 minutes ago when you said that thing. I thought, where is this going? It's okay to say that down the track. So it's also okay to, if you still have one part of the story pinging around in your head that you've held on to for 10 minutes, it's okay to mention that, to comment on that, because that shows the person that you were listening to them.
It's been on my mind as we're talking what you're thinking. To say, maybe you're not, but that's just been one of my vocal voices, just like, I know what Bernie.
I've been there with what you were saying. Like,
Right.
it resonates.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? All these stories just going on and on and on. Makes it very hard to listen to someone when you've got all this stuff going on.
And when we talk about responding, there's no exact science, so we never tell people when we go through 6 weeks of training in just listening, we get to a point people want to know how to respond, and we resist actually giving examples of what you might say, because it's not a formulaic response is no good, right? We do have to be genuine, and we do have to try on how we might respond and if it's the right thing to say or not, and we might make mistakes sometimes, and that's okay. That's okay too.
Yeah.
I think that is really important about trying it, and then it's like, oh yeah, no, that didn't feel really right, or good, that felt like I was getting the right.
Yeah, and it feels like that. It's quite lovely to take responsibility of all the thoughts you're thinking, so that you intentionally choose whether you're going to respond. One of my difficulties with professions as a nurse and therapist, you get taught loads of strategy-based responses. How can it be relevant? When we did a check-in, the four of us, and Lewis Hills, we did a check-in. It was really beautiful to hear where people were for me. There wasn't really any responses. It was just nice. Oh, we're going to do some recording. Oh, that's where everyone is. Oh, good. I can enjoy how I feel about everyone in the room then. No one had any stories that I could have done anything about. So formulaic responses would have been pretty stupid, really. And so, yeah, I really love just listening for that it gives you permission to just trust and allow the person to share their story, and any responses you have, like you said, you might just acknowledge they were for you.
Yeah.
Oh, I just wanted to say that. Okay. But when someone's told their story.
Sometimes people really want an answer or really want you to respond to something. Like, or in a way of like giving a solution or a so do you have any strategies or solutions for me? And I think that's an interesting one when I've had a reply to that. And I think, I've built it.
Tricky.
It's definitely something you get better at doing, how you respond to that and
Yeah.
how you go, no, the door's still open. If you'd like to walk your story along further down the hallway with me, that's you do get better at trying that on and resisting the urge to offer a solution or bouncing that back to the person.
Do you know, when you said that, Benny, I feel physically quite anxious because when someone says to you, so what do you think? Can you tell me what I should do? There's this, I think this is the crux of the vertical voices and whether you respond in that moment and whether that interrupts and overtakes someone. So what do you think I should do? Well, I wouldn't know. So anything I offer is kind of weird. But it's when that's when you notice all the vertical voices. Oh, I'm just going to sit here quietly. And you might say something like, I don't have the solutions, but I'm really interested to hear more of what you're thinking, what your story is.
Yeah.
And people are so skillful at it.
Yeah.
It's not just like some whim that we're saying, oh, you don't need to intervene. People are amazing at deciding, oh, I've heard this out loud, that sounds different. So I might think that next, or I might do that next. Or maybe it wasn't the story I thought it was. Well, I couldn't have known that, could I? I can't see inside people's heads, fortunately.
Yeah.
Imagine that'd be awful. So I'm really glad you brought that up because it just made me think, my vertical voices went off like, oh yeah, that's really hard work when you just stay quiet and stay with someone. Because that's the crux for me, the moment when you have to trust in that other person. And in that moment, my vertical voices go wild.
And sometimes I think if people have been in systems for so long, I think sometimes they're just not confident in that they might have the answer. They do.
Yeah, in systems, in families, in environments where they're not allowed to speak, they don't feel confident to think freely.
Yeah.
And then speak it.
Oh, somebody else must be more wise than me.
Yeah, yeah.